Tori Spelling didn't just finalize her divorce. She walked straight into a microphone and dropped a truth bomb no one saw coming. After nearly 2 decades with Dean McDermott, she's finally breaking her silence, and instead of the explosive Hollywood meltdown everyone expected, she's calling it one of the easiest divorces ever. But the way she explains it, the emotions behind it, and what she reveals about their relationship now, that's where things get unexpectedly intense, because this isn't the story fans were prepared for. Before the divorce headlines and podcast confessions, Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott were one of those Hollywood couples everyone thought they understood. They met fast, fell even faster, and by 2006 they were married and turning their entire life into a reality show universe. Cameras followed them through renovations, road trips, new babies, and every chaotic chapter in between. And for almost 20 years, they tried to make that blended, unpredictable, made-for-TV love story work. 5 kids, countless projects, and a shared life built under non-stop public pressure. It wasn't simple, but it was theirs. And for a long time, they leaned into the idea that if they kept pushing through the hard stuff, the rest would fall into place. But as we now know, something shifted long before the divorce papers ever did. When Tori finally filed for divorce in March 2024, it didn't come out of nowhere. It was more like the moment she stopped pretending everything was fine. She listed irreconcilable differences, but anyone who had watched their marriage unravel over the years knew the cracks had been forming long before the paperwork hit the court. What really caught people off guard, though, was the timing. She marked their official separation as June 17, 2023, but Dean didn't agree. He pushed back, disputed the date, and even challenged some of the custody details. For a moment, it looked like this was about to turn into the classic messy Hollywood split, the kind fans dissect on social media for months. Yet behind the scenes, something completely different was happening. Instead of gearing up for war, both of them quietly shifted their energy toward the one thing they still had in common: protecting their kids. And that decision ended up changing everything that came next. By the time the settlement finally came together in late October, the entire tone of their breakup had flipped. What started as a potentially rocky split turned into something almost unbelievable for a Hollywood couple with this much history. Instead of dragging each other through court, Tori and Dean chose mediation, just the two of them. No courtroom drama, no public battles. And when the papers were signed, the agreement was surprisingly clean. Both of them walked away with a clean slate, as Tori puts it. No one demanded payouts. No one tried to bleed the other dry. They agreed on joint legal custody, figured out how to share the responsibilities that come with raising 5 kids, and even decided to face their lingering financial messes together instead of pointing fingers. Spousal support? Waived. Child support? Handled through shared expenses, not courtroom warfare. It was the opposite of the scorched earth endings we're used to seeing, and for Tori, that felt like closure in its purest form. But as smooth as the settlement looked on paper, the emotional fallout was a whole different story. When Tori finally stepped up to the mic on her podcast, Miss Spelling, she didn't hold back. The first words out of her mouth were almost surreal. I am officially divorced, and this was one of the easiest divorces ever. No bitterness. No shots fired. Just this calm, almost relieved honesty that caught everyone off guard. After 20 years together, she and Dean somehow managed to uncouple without turning it into a battlefield, and she sounded genuinely proud of that. She explained that the reason everything went so smoothly wasn't luck. It was intention. She and Dean made a conscious choice to show up as better versions of themselves, not exes at war, but parents trying to protect the 5 kids they raised together. And the wild part? Tori says they actually get along better now than they did during the marriage. She describes Dean as someone who will always be a life partner, her human of sorts, even if their romantic chapter is closed. The way she talks about him is unexpectedly warm, almost nostalgic, like she's honoring what they had without clinging to it. And as she tells it, there's no hidden resentment, no secret tension simmering beneath the surface. Just two people who outgrew the marriage, but refused to let the ending destroy the family they built. But that emotional clarity Tori speaks with now, it came at a cost, and she hints that the hardest part happened long before anyone knew they were done. For Tori, the real victory isn't the smooth paperwork or the polite public statements. It's the way she and Dean have rewritten what co-parenting can look like. Instead of treating the divorce like the end of their family, she talks about it as a reset, a chance to show their kids that love doesn't disappear just because a marriage does. She's laser-focused on giving them stability, on proving that a family can shift and bend without breaking. And Dean's on the same page. They communicate, they coordinate, they show up almost like teammates who finally figured out how to work together once the pressure of being a couple was gone. Tori says their children are the center of every decision they make, and that's why they've kept things drama-free. No yelling matches. No custody battles splashed across headlines. Just two parents trying to model something healthier than the stereotypes they grew up watching in Hollywood. She even admits they get along better now, freer, lighter, more honest. And that energy? It's shaping how their kids see relationships, compromise, and the idea that endings don't have to be ugly. But behind that calm surface, there's still the question everyone wants answered. How did they manage to stay so united when so much was falling apart? What most people didn't realize is that this divorce wasn't just emotional. It came with some serious financial weight attached. After years of public money struggles, tax issues, and career ups and downs, Tori and Dean weren't walking away from a fairy tale empire. They were walking away from a life full of shared debts, shared responsibilities, and shared mistakes, and they had to decide how to untangle it all without tearing each other apart. Instead of fighting over who owed what, they made a surprisingly united choice. They'd face the mess together. From lingering tax bills to credit issues that built up during the marriage, they agreed to split it down the middle. No blame game. No, you created this, you fix it. Just two people admitting the reality of what their life had become. And on the personal side, Tori opened up about something even more intense. The fact that she had already done her grieving while still in the relationship. She said she mourned the marriage before it officially ended, which is why she wasn't shattered when Dean moved on with someone new. It wasn't coldness, it was acceptance. Her focus had shifted entirely to keeping the kids grounded and steady, even while her own world was flipping inside out. So, by the time the ink dried on the settlement, the emotional and financial battles had already been fought, quietly, privately, and mostly within themselves. And yet, there's one part of Tori's story that took fans by complete surprise, a detail from inside their marriage that no one saw coming. Just when everyone thought Tori had shared everything, she dropped a few unexpected details that made people see her marriage in a completely different light. One moment that immediately grabbed attention was her revealing that Dean used to jokingly reference her iconic 90,210 character during intimate moments, a strange, almost surreal reminder of how deeply her past fame intertwined with their private life. She shared it with a laugh, but it painted a picture of a relationship where Hollywood and home life were constantly blending in the most unpredictable ways. She also admitted something small but surprisingly emotional, the moment she filled out paperwork and circled the letter D for divorced. It hit her harder than she expected, not because she regretted the decision, but because it made everything suddenly real. After years of chaos, reconciliation attempts, and quiet heartbreak, that single letter felt like the official closing of a decades-long chapter. And then there was her reaction to watching Kim Kardashian's new All's Fair series, where celebrity divorces unfold with all the usual public messiness. Tori couldn't help comparing it to her own situation, not with judgment, but with a sense of pride. She and Dean made the choice to avoid the spectacle, to write a new kind of ending. It wasn't glamorous, but it was theirs. And it left people wondering what else she had learned from living so much of her marriage and her heartbreak in the spotlight. Looking back now, Tori talks about the end of her marriage almost like the start of a new chapter she never expected to write. She's not pretending everything was painless, and she's not glossing over the years of strain, but she is framing the future with a kind of clarity that only comes after surviving something that reshapes you. For her, this divorce isn't a failure. It's a pivot, a chance to rebuild her identity outside of the chaos, the headlines, and the weight of trying to hold a relationship together long after it stopped fitting either of them. She says she's stepping into this next phase with a sense of freedom, even excitement. There's her podcast, her projects, the possibility of rediscovering who she is without carrying the title of wife every day. And at the same time, she's committed to keeping Dean in her life, not as a partner, but as someone who helped shape her world. Someone who will always be tied to her through love, history, and the 5 kids they're raising together. It's an ending, yes. But Tori makes it sound like the kind that opens doors instead of closing them. And it leaves fans wondering what this new version of her is going to look like. Unpartnered, unfiltered, and finally honest about what she wants next. Because if she could rewrite the story of her divorce this dramatically, imagine what she might do with the rest of her life. In the end, Tori's spelling story isn't really about a divorce. It's about 2 people choosing peace over drama in a world that expects the opposite. She and Dean managed to turn a 20-year relationship into something new, something softer, something built on respect instead of resentment. And whether you think it's inspiring, surprising, or just plain unusual for Hollywood, it definitely makes you rethink what an ending can look like. But here's the real question. Did they truly rewrite the rulebook, or are they just really good at keeping the messy parts behind closed doors? Because depending on who you ask, this is either the most mature split we've seen in years or a breakup polished for the public eye. Let me know what you think. Is this the future of celebrity uncoupling, or is Tori putting a hopeful spin on a complicated past? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more deep dive stories just like this one.